them before.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see.
Okay, we are live. Apparently, YouTube is firing up. There we go.
We'll do it live. All right.
We go live. So I'm going to go ahead and make everyone let them know that we're live. Go ahead, host. Boom. All right. So Tom, you have brought us Alex Noriega. Take it away.
All right. I'm Tom. That's Mike. You guys know us. We've been here 4 or 5 times now. So let's get straight into talking about Alex. I have a good relationship with a lot of photographers around the country, but none of them go back as far or as personally as with my friend Alex Noriega here. I met Alex when I was in 7th grade, I think. Alex, you moved to our little town in Wisconsin from Texas. And we became friends. We did all the normal high school stuff together. We went off to college together. We were roommates freshman year. I was a photography major. Alex was a computer science major. And we lived together. I did my stuff. He did his stuff. Eventually, a couple years later, Alex had started a kind of an IT company, right, Alex, in the Twin Cities in Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Yeah.
And he sort of, I guess, got a camera, started in, getting interested in photography. And that was maybe like 2010, 2008, something like that.
2010, January 2010.
2010, you got a camera. So we were out of
11
school.
Years.
Yeah, I was living in Chicago. Alex was living in Minneapolis, St. Paul. And he picked up a camera for the first time in 2011. And then in 2016, he won the U.S. Landscape Photographer of the Year among various other national and international prizes. So when you talk about it like a meteoric rise to whatever you want to call it, a successful photography career, Alex is your guy. He's self-taught, and he's sort of defined his own medium within landscape photography, which is a super impressive feat to have done. So Alex, that's what I know about your background. Do you want to talk a little bit about your kind of journey to where you are now? And then we've got some specific talking points we'll get to tonight, but maybe you can give us your backstory first.
Well, first of all, when we were roommates in college, and I was a computer science major, that's just putting it pretty loosely, because I don't know how many times I even went to class in total.
Yeah, we have stories about that, of course. But.
I was 17 and then had to be responsible. No, it's too soon.
I think that Kanye West's The College Dropout came out right around that same time, which was appropriate.
Yeah, and I didn't know Kanye then. It's too bad.
Yeah.
But I think you covered it pretty well. I was self-employed as a computer repairman, computer builder. And I bought the camera in 2010 to sell computer parts on eBay. I needed better pictures of them because at the time, think of smartphones at the time, like Blackberries, like 640 by 480 cameras that can't even
robust
take a picture in the dark. Like, it was just, my pictures look terrible. So I bought like a little Canon point and shoot to take pictures of computer parts to sell them on eBay. And I just was like instantly enraptured by the process of photography, like just the way that light works and depth of field and like getting
it's like you're still working with a computer, just in a different shape.
Yeah. I mean, the technology part came easily because I was so well versed in it already. So I know that can be a hurdle for a lot of people like with great artistic talent that try to do photography. There's so many technical aspects of it.
Sure.
It all goes hand in hand. I was the opposite, like no artistic talent, at least that I knew of. And then I did have the technology understanding. So it made it easy to pick up. And I got obsessed that first year. And
I'm going to share a screen while you talk, Alex, and just kind of be going through your portfolio in the background. So continue. Your first year, you got obsessed.
Yeah. I was obsessed with photography, but it wasn't landscapes at that time. I didn't know what I wanted to shoot. I was shooting everything. I was like doing portraiture of my girlfriend at the time, like shooting ducks at the park. I shot some architecture because you were like the closest photographer to me. So I was definitely interested in architecture. I came down to Chicago to shoot with you a couple times, and
it seems like a common theme is like,
I mean,
a lot of people, they photograph everything until they find something that hooks them.
Right. I'd like to share a
and I
little
think that
anecdote
works.
about.
That's
Just one sec, Alex. I just want to share an anecdote about when you came down to Chicago, and I had been working with a master retoucher in Chicago, and I showed you how to use separations, RGB channels, right, to like work with contrast in a finer way. And I remember you just like something clicking in your head, and then you like disappeared for 3 months, and then you came back to me, and you were like, and you had like this master level understanding of that side of Photoshop. And I was like, what the hell happened here? Like I haven't talked to you in 3 months, and now you're the go-to expert on this. So sorry, continue with your first year or where you were.
Yeah, well, I was shooting architecture. Actually, that was probably the thing I was most interested in before I found landscape, probably because of portraying a sense of place. I mean, that's probably the overlapping trait between those two kinds of photography. But
yeah,
and I was pretty into it. Like, I still have an okay architecture portfolio, I think, for having been my first year. But
yeah,
I
definitely
I wasn't anywhere near your level, and it wasn't like really clicking with me in the way that landscapes ended up doing. And the way that happened is I took a road trip out west from Wisconsin to California, and that was my first time seeing anything out there. I mean, we grew up in the Midwest. It's mostly like flat farmlands, and
Bunch
that
of
road trip
flatlanders
we
over here.
went through Utah, like rugged like red rock desert, just like millions of years of geology exposed, and the mountains in Colorado and Death Valley we went through in California. And I just saw so much shit that I'd never seen before, and that kind of awakened in me the fact that like what I had been trying to do with architecture, like conveying the sense of place, I just felt it so much stronger with landscapes.
Sure.
I felt like I could create an atmosphere, a place of my own in a photo. I mean,
yeah, and you certainly do that
early on. And so and I within a year of that trip, I had lived in LA, decided I didn't like LA. It's too
that's
too urban.
Lives.
Like,
I don't like LA either, and I live here, so
yeah, who each, I don't know. I need seasons, first of all, but also it was like a 2-hour drive to get out of the city to anywhere remotely nature, and like 4 hours to Death Valley or the Sierras, like anything that I really loved. So I was like, why am I even here? And then I moved to Portland instead, which is just surrounded within an hour's drive with coasts and mountains and forests and all sorts of good stuff. So that's when I focused entirely on landscape photography. So that was within like 2 years of picking up a camera. I had moved out to the West Coast and then up to Portland, and changed up my life entirely.
What I like, what's interesting to me is I think all of the work on your website is in America, right?
It is, yeah.
That's crazy, because you hear about landscape photographers and all they're doing is just jetting all around the world. Australia, New Zealand, Iceland, Scandinavia, Banff and Alaska and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You keep it local, so to say.
And I want to go to Iceland.
It doesn't seem like you're wanting for subjects. It seems like you have plenty of amazing things to look at here. Like you could have told me this was in Australia, but it's sure. In Death Valley or something.
Well, I think part of that is that I'm not looking for, at least anymore, I'm not looking for like the epic grand shot that requires going to a new place. Like once you've covered all those locations in the US, like not that there is a finite number of them, but I just feel like that drives more travel. Like if you're looking for a certain kind of shot, like I need to go somewhere more epic, somewhere more exotic. But like, because I've started focusing on smaller subjects, I can find them everywhere. So it's not really, my photos aren't going to be better because I go to Iceland. They'll just be different.
Sure.
I mean, I want to go to Iceland, don't get me wrong, but yeah.
Oh, of course.
The US is, I mean, it's probably the most diverse country that I know of on the planet for the landscapes, the geologic diversity here. And we have world-class, like old growth forests, red rock deserts, mountains, coasts. I mean, you can find those things all around the world, but in one area, and you can just drive between them all, like no barriers of any kind. It's pretty crazy what we have here.
I will say I've seen more of the United States during COVID than I have like ever before. Than Big Sur and Death Valley and all over California. I've gone to, Zion and Utah, and those are just places that I would have overlooked otherwise. I would have been like, oh, I'm going to go to Switzerland or whatever,
Right.
rather than just drive 6 hours to Utah. And there's stuff, incredible stuff. So I noticed that almost immediately about your portfolio, and I thought it was so cool.
Yeah. Alex, I'd like to, I know we have some things to talk about specifically. Actually, you know what? This is going to be a pretty big topic. So why don't you wrap up? You're kind of in the middle of your backstory. Let me let you do that first before we start talking about photos.
Oh, well, yeah. So bought a camera to take better pictures, got obsessed with photography, moved out to the West Coast, decided to focus only on landscapes. And that's the first 2 years I had gone through like all this experimentation, and then decided on landscapes. And then I think over the next few years after that, I went through a process of like following what everyone else was doing, becoming unsatisfied with my work, trying to find what I could do that was uniquely my own. And then I guess finding that probably around the time I won those competitions you mentioned. And then
2016,
the last few years, I've just been trying to improve. I don't know. I don't.
Yeah.
It's
well, and you became nomadic. It's
interesting because it's not. Yeah. Oh yeah. There's that too. I'm just leaving out so much.
That's okay.
Yeah. I mean, we live on the road full time now, me and Taylor, in our travel trailer, and if not for COVID, we would have been so many places. But still,
you've still done better than all the rest of us
this one of the
year.
topics. Yeah.
Are you in like a camper right now?
Yeah, we're in our trailer right now.
Oh my God, look at this.
There she is.
So cool.
Yeah,
lighting's terrible in here.
That's okay, man. You use the sun for lighting. You don't light stuff like fiddly little lights like Mike and I do. So you don't need to. Okay, so that brings us pretty much up to present. You're traveling the country with your trailer, park the trailer, use that as a home base. Go make pictures all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Really incredible work. We're going to talk shortly about like how you support yourself with your photography, but I want to jump back a little ways into the kind of the point where I've been, I've had the privilege of watching your career, go from, ducks in a pond to where you're at now. And I feel like there was kind of a pivotal moment where I describe this when I'm talking about students a lot too, which is like, oftentimes when people pick up a camera, they're looking for a subject to take a picture of, right? And there's a really important moment that happens when the photographer stops looking for subject matter and starts creating pictures with composition that happens to have subject matter within it, right? So I feel like there was kind of this moment where you stopped going to like Mount Hood and like, the Grand Canyon. I know you have some beautiful photos of the Grand Canyon and stuff, but, I feel like, let me actually go back to personal favorites really quick. I want to talk about a couple of specific images here. I feel like, this one here from Crater Lake, and then a couple of these other ones are like very iconic places. They're done in your way. But then, the images that are, in my opinion, like more successful images are photos like this, right? Where it's like all about the photographic process really, and like the mastery over the tones is like incredible and impeccable. And like this could literally be behind a construction site in Oklahoma or something, and you've made world-class images from it. I know that's not the case, but
how much, a quick question here on an image like this, and it's probably different for every image, but how much altering of reality are we doing color wise? Or is that pretty much straight out of camera?
On this one, well, I do have personal limits on that, but I don't, they're pretty far. Like I'll do whatever I need to do to make the image what I want it to be.
Yeah.
But this one was like actually just restraining reality because it was such a red sunset and they're already kind of pinkish badlands. Like this is a 30-second exposure as the sun was burning up ahead, casting down from all these red clouds. it was just way too red, way too pink. So I wanted you to be able to feel the pink, but not make it look like I just dragged the magenta slider over.
Yeah, important.
So this one was just like, it was pretty basic, you know, just dodging up that path and controlling the color rather than enhancing it.
I'm gonna go to factory view quick because there maybe is a little more manipulation of reality in this photo. Would I be accurate in saying that?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, those Badlands they're kind of like grayish blue. They have a slight blue tint, but I mean, that was from a time when I just loved making everything blue. I mean, that's one way to use that super soft twilight and make it a little more interesting, is like just go cooler with the white balance. But I left that little boulder. I don't know why. I just like that boulder, and I left it warmer.
And that's what makes
real.
it.
I mean, it's not. Yeah. That's not real. That's not exactly how it looked. It was more like grayish, brownish, a little hint of blue. Depending. I mean, that thing glows in like I've seen it on pink mornings where it's just totally blazing like reddish pink, but
right.
I just like the blue one overall.
Right.
But yeah, I mean,
what I'm getting here is like you're just using the world to create your art. You're not out there like just trying to find the coolest glacier, you know, and like showing it to us, which is what I really respect about you as a photographer. Or one of the things I really respect about you as a photographer. Okay, well, we can talk more about the photographic process stuff, but let's talk about, Mike and I have done this now with several architectural photographers, and we've had a discussion each time about sort of about usage and about how we bill clients and all that kind of stuff, right? And what we have never been able to do is ask a person like you who doesn't work for clients, who, you know, you'll sell your images and things, there's usage involved, but you support yourself, you're your client, right? You your money comes primarily from photographers who you're teaching through, you know, tutorials here, through workshop. These tutorials, you guys, like we're not here to like sell Alex's videos, but no matter what kind of photography you do, these are like 2-hour, you know, 3-hour tutorials, and Alex's level of mastery is just like insane. Just do them. And workshops. So can you talk a little
those borders on that page?
Can you talk a little bit about like it must be freeing to be able to, and I'm going to stop screen sharing here. We'll get back to the grid of us, but can you just talk a little bit about how you support yourself as a rogue guy?
And print sales, is that a component as well?
Yeah. I think that I don't want to make proclamations about myself, but I think that my images are maybe sometimes more appealing to photographers than the general public, because a photographer can say like, okay, I've been to that spot, I never saw a shot like that. Like, that's a photographer's shot. Like that impresses me as a photographer. But someone who doesn't look at a lot of landscape photography, is just used to like postcards, might see something that I make and be like, I don't even know what that is, and just like go right past it. So like I know a lot of my work does have broad appeal, but I think it's kind of difficult to sell that kind of work print wise to the general public. Some of the more abstract stuff, because people are choosing to put things on their wall that inspire them personally, and maybe like more identifiable subjects like trees, like those, I know people love that. But like if it's just like a water abstract and you can't even tell it's water, or like just rocks and you're not that interested in geology, like do you want that on your wall? Do you want to be paying hundreds or thousands of dollars for that? Not hundreds of thousands.
Hundreds or thousands, yeah.
That's hundreds or thousands, yeah.
Not yet.
So I think the print sales are not a huge part of it, because I don't market that at all. And I think I'm just aware that other photographers are my easiest market, because they want to know how to do what I'm doing, because it is somewhat different than what you generally see. So yeah, the tutorials, the workshops, that's most of the income, and it's really freeing because I don't have to worry at all about what will sell. Like I'm aware like this photo is more popular, this one sells more prints, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to have to go shoot more photos like that. I still do whatever the hell I want to do. And I've just been lucky enough to have some sort of overlap with what I'm doing and what people want to see, like to the point where it's grown my following and brought me some business. I mean, I really don't target anything except for what I want to be creating, what I want to be proud of seeing in my portfolio.
That's very
like my
modest.
only real goal.
Very modest, Alex. Can you tell us how, like, you make a prolific number of images a year? How does one of them become a tutorial? Like, what do you look for in an image that you are then going to walk people through the process? We should tell people that, like, a tutorial from Alex kind of walks you through the post-production process from the beginning, where you like open the raw all the way until it's produced. And what, Alex, you get like a PSD with the layers, but it's small, so you can kind of like follow along, right? Is that how it works?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not giving away the full files for these shots because they are still worth something in licensing and printing. But yeah, downsized PSD, and then they can like follow along with the layers and see how they work. But the way I choose those, I want shots that are good to demonstrate techniques with. I also want shots where more was done to them. So like that factory butte shot was in a tutorial because it was such a transition from the raw file, and you can see on the slider there. I wouldn't show a shot that I barely did anything to in a post-production tutorial. I mean, I've got nothing to show you then. So I try to choose ones where I did more manipulation, and also I do try to choose ones that I know to be more popular, because then it's a lot easier to sell the tutorials. I mean,
that makes sense.
That's where I make a consideration about what's popular and what sells, not at the point of capture. Like, I'll shoot whatever I want, whatever compels me, but then later when I'm marketing a tutorial, I can definitely say, like, yeah, this shot, people like this shot, they're going to want to know how I made this shot. Like,
so a few things need to kind of line up, right? Like, it has to have had a good amount done to it, maybe something that hasn't been shown in a prior tutorial, and then it has to also like gain some momentum in social media or photography websites, that kind of thing.
Okay. Let me turn on a light quick. This is getting real grainy. Just 1 sec.
Sure.
That's the question.
He can still hear us. So.
Okay.
Are we sorry, are you filming all of them yourself, or do you have like a crew help you out and do the editing, or is it something, you hook up a mic and do a screen capture, or is someone filming you while you do post-production? And are you interspersing it with, like...
I'm sorry. I don't hear you right now.
Can you hear us now, Alex?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We hear you.
Can you hear us?
Classic Zoom.
Yeah, this is 2020. Let's just call it 2020.
Actually, I think it was an issue with the AirPods.
Okay. Are you back?
Yeah, as long as you're not getting an echo, I can still hear you. It's just
yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, we're good. We don't have an echo. You sound perfect. The question was, are you just like doing screen recording and talking over it while you do it, or are you having someone like film you do this process for your tutorials?
I'd like to do like in field. I mean, I sell post-processing tutorials because it's the easiest thing to record myself teaching, but it's like the last 5 to 50% of the process, depending on the photo. Like, I think the composition is so much more important, but I haven't tackled that subject yet because I want to be able to do all that out in the field, like those examples. And it's just so much. I think I'd have to dedicate time specifically to that.
Sure.
And that cuts into my actual photography time, because then I'm just focusing on filming myself or having someone film me rather than making shots. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, it's pretty much screen recordings, but I try to edit them, at least my newer ones, and cut down the time at least. And
so then the first 5 to 85% of the process is in the field, which that would be covered sort of by workshops then, right?
Yeah, I take people around. I often work with my buddy TJ. We just like have a lot of the same artistic goals, and we're good friends, so it's really easy to work with him. I'm sorry, this mic is switching now. Can you hear me?
Can hear you just fine. Yeah,
we're good.
Okay, cool. yeah, I like to work with someone when we're teaching large groups, but yeah, we take people out in the field and like take them to the spots, not these spots, but to spots where they have a lot of opportunity to like explore and find photos. And then we can kind of help them with the process of refining and making those photos better. We're not just taking them to like a checklist of iconic spots, because you're not really learning anything then, except the technicals of how to operate your camera and like replicate something. We want to teach people like how to find shots the way that we do, and it's different for everyone depending on what they're interested in and what their artistic sensibilities are. But yeah, we would just like to show them our process, and I think for some people it really clicks and they see like a huge change in their photography after they take one of our workshops. So that's always
well,
really
I mean that's I can understand why, you know, with walking through the process of making good photographs rather than focusing on the subject matter and getting there at the right time, right? Yeah,
it's a really good, I mean, the way you boiled that down, I actually haven't heard it put that way, but I think it's easy for you to see it from the outside, like the way that a lot of landscape photography is handled. And I was actually thinking about that earlier today. Like you take your prototypical landscape photograph, which is like a near far, pretty wide angle, like sky in the top third, like a leading line or some sort of foreground element leading you to something grander, like a mountain or a vista. And like, I feel like if you think within that box, if that's the type of photo you're looking for, then you are just looking for subject matter. You're like, okay, where's a cool mountain? And then you show up at the cool mountain and you're like, where's my foreground? I need
it's a formula. It's
and then
a
you
formula,
walk around and you're like, is it this stream?
Sounds like me
is
taking a picture of a house.
Flowers.
Right, Mike.
I mean,
see, it's funny
but you're
you
working
say that.
for, like you have something that clients want, right? Like you're working
beating
for...
the cliche over the head over and over and over. Me.
We've talked about this in past videos, like how Mike and I end up, you know, I shoot a lot of corporate interiors, Mike shoots a lot of residential interiors and exteriors as well. But, you know, for me, it's like the conference room shot, right? Like everyone does a big fancy boardroom and it's got a marble table and it's got a millwork wall, whatever. And it's like shot A, shot B, or shot C, right? Is it an elevation down the side? Is it a shot through the glass with people sitting there? Or is it an oblique shot, right? Like it's really hard to get outside the box when you do that. You're constantly looking for ways to do it. And we've seen other people like Kendall McCordy and stuff find ways to do that. And that's when it gets exciting. But so you're just kind of talking about that same like formulaic, like, you know,
I guess, yeah,
subject matter approach, right?
Here's a kitchen, center,
I mean,
one point perspective, boom, next.
Right.
You could still, I mean, maybe it's that you don't look at as much landscape photography, but you could say the same about like a pattern shot. Like you're just trying to find a consistent pattern and frame a rectangle around it in a way that, you know, it repeats well and there aren't any distractions. I mean, there's formulaic aspects to lots of stuff that I shoot, but I do think that just having
doing
a more
something
open mind,
technically well. But doing something technically well is also super important. Like you can go buy a piano and you can go buy a Steinway, right? Like they both do the same thing, but one of them is made by like the best people on the planet, right? That do this craft. And, you know, making a pattern shot is one thing. And then, you know, you and I have had in-depth conversations, you know, with screen sharing about like a branch on the edge of frame and like, what do we do with this branch? Do we, you know, like an hour-long conversation about a single branch, right? And you know, that's when you get to your level where you're like, it's just a pattern shot, but it's a perfect pattern shot, or it's a, you know, approaching perfect. There's no such thing, but you know, so I think there's value in that too, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, execution matters a lot, and just like having a really perfect or near perfect or excellent example of a type of shot is cool. But I just, when it's only like the postcard shot, that's when I lose interest. Like if it's just that done over and over again at different places, it's like I went to Iceland, I went to New Zealand, I went to Patagonia, I went to Pakistan, and I took the same shot in every place.
Right.
Like that doesn't hold my interest.
It's like you're collecting baseball cards.
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't want to talk down on it, because it's, I mean, the travel and the whole process of going out and seeing that stuff for yourself, I mean, that's inspiring to some people, and that's what they want to do. I mean, like, it's more about just getting out there and doing it. And so I'm not really talking shit on that so much as saying that it doesn't interest me because I'm more concerned about the end result than the process of or the, like, I'll travel if I want to travel. I'm not going to travel and have it be dictated solely by the photography.
Sure.
I just kind of separate the two, like the results and the experience. So
yeah,
maybe that leads to work.
Go ahead.
Like you were saying.
Yeah.
So,
we have a question in chat from Emilio Rothfuchs. He says, do you diversify your income in any other way besides prints, tutorials, and workshops? Or is that pretty much, does that do it for you?
Yeah, I mean, licensing.
Mm-hmm.
License images whenever people come to me. And
so in architecture, when we have licensing,
really.
we generally like charge a certain percentage of the cost of the shoot, or we all have like a number we charge. How, like with landscape, are you doing it based on like the venue for the usage for the licensing, or how do you, or do you just have a number as well? You don't have to tell us the number. We're just wondering about the process.
Yeah,
I have well, I don't have all the formulas in my head, you know, about like how much circulation is it going to have in this magazine? How much does that impact the price? I think it can get pretty complex if you're doing rights managed usage. So I just kind of go off like Getty, and then if it's like an organization that I like, their mission, like an environmental organization or a nonprofit, then I'll give them a really good deal. I just licensed one to the Wilderness Society for next year's calendar that will be sent out to like 800,000 people, and like charged them a fraction of what the normal price would be for that usage. So yeah, it also plays into it how it's going to be used. If it was a corporation, I'd charge every last cent I could.
Yeah, of course.
So
of course, yeah.
Airbnb
is no charity. You don't have to.
Yeah. Well, like some like Apple have like a set. Apple did approach me about using some Dune photos for. I think Mac OS Mojave must have been what they were after, because it was
Dune photos.
For that, yeah. But their background, they ended up going with one from Matt Anderson, a photographer I know, and I think he just had one shot they licensed, and then their artists like turned it into like every stage of the day, from like sunrise to midday to night. They like made like a blue version of it, a pink version, and then like had the auto changing background. So that was really cool. I think his shot worked way better than any of mine for that. Like it included the sky and it was just simpler, like easier to put desktop icons on. But I'm pretty sure that's why they were asking for my Dune photos. And my point is that Apple just pays a set fee. Like they pay like $4,000 for that or something.
And they just tell you that, Isn't it hilarious to think of that number? I mean, $4,000 is not something to shake a stick at, but that's the price of one MacBook, you know, like it's going to be on a million of them.
Yeah. When you put it against like the richest company on the planet, they could probably afford to pay more, but I also appreciate that they pay anything, because like my photos are also on Google's, what do you call it? Chromecast. And I never saw a cent for that, because they had a deal with 500px, which was like a photo sharing website, sort of like Flickr, that hit its high several years ago. And they had some sort of backroom deal, like without consulting any photographers, you just, by putting your photos on this site, you're agreeing that we can share them with our partners.
ULA.
Google.
Good grief.
I hate that place.
So then I started getting these emails from people that I hadn't talked to since high school. They're like, your photos on my TV. I'm like, really? Why? It's Google Chromecast. So they don't pay a cent for their photography. And I think
they paid a cent. It just went to 500px and not you.
Yeah, that's true.
Does that seriously? I can't believe that they would take your photos off 500px and sell them to Microsoft and put them on a TV.
Well,
honest to God,
I don't know what the deal was, but it was Google doesn't pay for photography though. Apparently, I mean they just like have it in their agreements that they can use.
I tell you what, Alex.
There was one.
I've shot Google 3 times. They've paid me for photography. They've paid me.
They pay you. Yeah, they pay you for for photos of their
What,
campus,
like
but they don't
office
pay to
photos or
use
something?
nature photographers' photos
Yeah.
on the TV.
Yeah, that's garbage.
Oh, I don't hear you anymore. Jeez. What's going on here?
We can hear you still.
Okay.
Your AirPods must be chopping out.
Yeah, it's terrible.
We can hear you now.
Okay. Google. I had a train of thought there. I lost it.
Google doesn't pay. But they pay.
Google doesn't pay
Sorry.
Diversification of your income. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's what this was all about. Yeah, so licensing, prints, workshops, tutorials. That's pretty much it. I mean, the odd like copyright infringement case. I have lawyers, so that sometimes results in something. You'd be surprised the number of companies that just like take a photo and use it for their product and never ask anything of the photographer. Or maybe you wouldn't be surprised at all.
Mike and I might not be surprised, but we know what you're saying. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, and I
Wild.
do process photos for people, like sort of like a ghostwriter, but ghost processor. Upon request. I don't advertise that, but I have some people that like to do that. So
interesting.
Yeah, there are. I mean, I'll take anything that comes my way within reason because I've been self-employed for 13 years now, and I still am worried that like it's going to dry up tomorrow. Like
Same, yeah.
I'm going to have to go back to having a boss. So like I'm pretty open, but I won't change like what I'm shooting. That's the one thing I don't do is I still just shoot whatever I want to shoot, and I won't do anything on assignment or like within creative constraints.
Sure.
I think I need to adopt that approach for architecture. It's just you get what you get and you like it.
I think that's
I'm not going to go back.
Yeah, it's just
that's the dream for all of us.
That's because I'm making my income on teaching. I mean, that's what frees me up creatively.
Yeah.
So like
I had a
is
question.
like the whole adage, what if you can't do, you teach or whatever. So I think those who can't do may teach, but also those who don't want to be told what to do teach.
There you go. I like that.
Go on, Mike.
I had a quick question that popped into my head when we were talking about revenue a minute ago. What do you do for like a tax home? Do you say you live in Nevada and drive around to get the 0% state income tax? Or
I probably should. I should probably be smarter about that. But no, I have my residence because we live in a travel trailer. I just set my residence to my mom's house in Colorado, and that's where the business is out of officially. But
okay.
I mean, almost nothing happens there. It's everywhere else that everything is occurring. But that's the
stop in and charge your batteries.
So I think that's
move along.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good question, Mike.
Well,
Mike, didn't you have a question about the trailer situation? I can't remember.
I have a million about the trailer situation. So are you like a fifth wheel? Are you hooked up to a truck, or is it like an RV? What's the situation?
It's a travel trailer, so not a fifth wheel. It's like we use the towing hitch on the truck. We have a Chevy Silverado, and the trailer is 20 feet, and it weighs 5,000 or 6,000 pounds, fully loaded, and we just tow it around wherever we go. And like try to set up for like 2 weeks at a time, which is about as long as you can stretch the waste tanks before you have to dump them. So like we'll go to, and that's also a lot of the max stay at a campground. A lot of campgrounds limit you to 14 days. Sure. So like we'll show up at Death Valley and post up at Texas Springs campground for 2 weeks, and then we'll move somewhere else for another 2 weeks. And like while we're parked there, then we just venture out in the truck and explore and hike and find photos. And
sure,
we're just kind of always moving, except the pandemic has thrown a bit of a wrench in that because even though we are able to travel, we had plans in certain places where then like the national park would restrict travel. Like we were supposed to be in Death Valley in January, like the whole month, and the state of California, the southern part of California, shut down because of what was happening in their ICUs in LA.
I just did a shoot in Death Valley, and we couldn't stay there. We had to drive. Like it was would drive 4 hours
Yeah.
north from LA, and we had to go into the park and then leave. And you couldn't. The idea we would drive my car up and camp, and that did not happen because all the campgrounds are shut. And I'm like, this is crazy. This is the most socially distanced activity possible.
I know. It's just they politically separated California into 5 regions, and then Death Valley gets treated the same as Los Angeles, which is a little strange because it is the most vast national park, I believe.
Yeah,
it's pretty broad brush.
But yeah, we had like a workshop and a conference planned there for January and had to cancel that because of COVID, or rather just move it to 2022. Almost everyone they still want to come, so they moved it back.
Sure.
But yeah, stuff like that has led to us sitting in driveways more than we wanted to when we hit the road. Like my mom's driveway, her mom's driveway, our friends in Portland. Like we've had a few months of, especially when the pandemic started, like real quarantine lockdown. And now that things are more relaxed, we're going to get back out there. But yeah, some of the plans have still been foiled.
Yeah. But
the ideal setup is always moving, always adventuring.
It's incredible. Yeah, that's a dream. Yeah.
Have you gone over?
It has pitfalls though.
Oh, of course. Anything does.
Have you done Alaska? Like driven through Canada up into there, or no? Is that even possible?
That's a plan. Yeah, that was actually supposed to be this year, but now like all of our plans have moved back a year. So maybe next year, next like summer into early fall. We'd like to be up there for like a couple months if we're going to drive that far.
Oh yeah.
Stay there for a while.
Oh, amazing. What did we have for Instagram questions? I know we had a boatload, didn't we?
Yeah, Alex. What's up, Alex? Gonna lose that ear.
Speakers.
Okay. Sure. Can you hear us?
Say something.
Yeah. Check.
Check 1 2.
There we go.
For the first time, I'm not the audio.
Zoom settings were different than the computer settings.
That's right. I was gonna say that, but then I realized you couldn't hear me. So, yeah, Alex, did you? Well, first of all, before we get to Instagram questions, did you have anything you wanted to talk about, Alex, or any contrasts between architecture and landscape, or anything you wanted to talk about for people who might be viewing from your kind of neck of the woods?
I really like talking about the photographic process. I thought that was interesting, what we were getting into at the beginning there. I know we're somewhat limited on time, but
we got time.
I also have questions from Instagram, but yeah, before we get to that, if you can think of anything else, I think that like shooting for clients, I guess for you, I would wonder like how, like you still go out and do passion projects, right? Like just on your own, not on assignment, and both you do. And like how much is that versus how much is you're shooting for Studio Gang or whatever, and you still like you're passionate about the project and you find portfolio shots that you love regardless of like the fact that you're working for a client, or like do you find that they're really separate, like shooting for your passion versus for the client?
That's a great question, Alex. Mike, I'll jump on that first and then you can take it from there. I know you're just doing some sort of, and Mike, maybe you're the same as me, but my passion projects oftentimes overlap with my clients, because the way that my clients are for me is, most of them are friends at this point, and they're built, like architecture is kind of my passion now in addition to architectural photography. So, my first magazine cover that I got of Metropolis magazine, I just had the photos on my Instagram, and from 2013, where of a building that was being torn down in Chicago, and there was no client. I just went out and made photos with the
Let me see if these are any good. Hold on, I'll pull it up
with the digital back, and I was just so excited to be making pictures, and the National Trust for Historic Preservation kind of saw them and got excited about them, and then they wound up at, on a magazine cover. But I really think that
I remember that.
Yeah, that was a big day, for me. I remember getting the phone call where I was in Chicago. I was on a shoot, of course, and anyway, I really think that for photographers who work commercially and for corporate people, that the process of keeping your like creative energy alive through passion projects is super important. So it's good that you bring that up. But for me, there's kind of an overlap. Like sometimes my passion projects are about buildings that I was paid to shoot initially, and I carry the series on or something like that. But the one thing that architecture lacks is sort of series-based work, and going through art school, that's something that I really enjoy. So I had this project in Gary, Indiana, and I have one in two Mies van der Rohe buildings that I'm working on now in Chicago. That's like kind of a narrative based series work, and that's really interesting to me. So I think that kind of keeps the spark alive, because when you have to bring the energy to photo shoots day after day with clients, and if you just get bogged down by photography, you really need to build it back up sometimes. So how about you, Mike? What have you been working on?
I mean, I can speak to that, what you mentioned, that architecture has become more of a passion of mine as I've spent the last decade photographing it. But I still need a break. I need a break from photographing homes and buildings and whatever, just because I feel like for the past 10 years, my life has been almost solely focused on architectural photography in some way or another. And I kind of hit a breaking point during COVID, and it was a nice sort of reprieve for me. But I used to have all these airplane related passion projects, and then COVID destroyed aviation, like just swamped it. And so, I kind of like during COVID, I started playing guitar again, and I was like, why don't I just love photographing things that I'm passionate about, whether it's airplanes or guitars, or, what have I've done all kinds of different like funky subjects like that. And I try to make things that I'm interested in sort of a passion project of mine, because that gives me the motivation to go get it done. So there's always something that I'm looking for.
Can you show one of the Fender images on stream here or no?
Oh yeah, hold on. Let me
screen share.
One of those. I didn't. Was that was like a dedication to like an old ad that they did, or a series of ads?
Hold on one second. I'm completely lost on my desktop here.
I'll kind of talk over you for a sec while you find it, Mike.
Okay.
Mike. Mike is kind of loosely, to put it loosely, like intertwining himself with Fender currently, and he's not working for them like it's strictly put, but he's kind of developing relationships. So Mike's really into guitars. He's got these guitars. Fender's coming out with this new series of guitars. So Mike is kind of attempting kind of you could take it from here, Mike, and talk more specifically about it. These are incredible, by the way.
So basically, I just have been like enraptured with this new hobby that I've had. So I'm like, how can I do something interesting here with regards to, not just photographing a guitar on white? How can I actually weave it into my passions, which is, the sort of conceptual photography, and I love getting out into nature. I'm totally at home in the mountains here. This is, on the foothills of the Sierras. And the whole concept was this parallel universe of, this, I don't know if you're a guitar player, Alex, but Stratocaster and a Jazz Master, they sort of combined them into this guitar over here. We dragged out this 6-foot tall mirror into the desert. And it was this huge pain in the ass to get this all set up. We had C-stands and, all these custom made wooden holders and everything, so the stuff wouldn't blow in the wind. But it was, and then we did a second one. This is at the Trona Pinnacles. I don't know if you've been out there, but very near. This is the one in Death Valley that I told you about, where we couldn't stay there because everything's closed. But I'm doing light painting with drones, sort of incorporating architectural photography techniques into the sort of landscape product photography that I've been doing. So it's just, I feel like it's kind of a way to, in some way, commercialize a passion. And here's a shot I did. This is a buddy of mine. The idea here was that Fender has this new amp that like connects to a headphone jack, and you can play guitar with headphones, and then you can follow along on their iPad app. So we kind of put these taglines together of people being annoying playing guitar on planes because they can't put their guitar down. So it's just sort of a passion project that
I feel like you're implementing skills from architectural photography too. With
I love photography when I get the right subject, but I just need, like, sometimes I need a spark, especially after 10 years of architectural photography, and one comment from a client can just set me back a month in mental health. So I need a break from time to time, you know, and just to not work for, which is why I'm fascinated with you. You don't take direction, or you just do what you want to do, which is amazing.
Well,
I'm over here.
I was just thinking while you were saying this that like you seem very self-motivated, and that's actually a little bit of an issue with me because I don't have any sort of direction given to me. Everything is completely in my prerogative. Like there is no one telling me what to do or what I should be doing. And so I have to be completely self-motivated, and that really, I alluded to like never going to class when I went to college and was roommates with Tom. I have to be interested, like really passionate about something, I think, to execute and put a lot of work in it. And so
100%. There's no wasted effort with Alex. It's all or nothing.
yeah. So like that's I mean, the reason I have the portfolio I have and have gotten where I've gotten is because I've been so passionate about it. But when that passion wanes, and it kind of ebbs and flows.
What I think you sort of
have
to be obsessed to some degree to be a professional photographer.
Yeah, but it sucks when I don't have the inspiration. Like it comes and goes. I'm like it can worry me at times. Like where is it? Like, and
You're not alone,
I can get
man.
it from all sorts of
you're
sources, but like just the fact that I don't have like a project that I should be working on that someone told me to go work on that I'm going to get a paycheck at the end of, like it's just like I have to be completely self-motivated, which for someone that is all or nothing, I really need that inspiration. So
I'll go months without picking up the camera from time to time. You know, like November, December, January for me, all my client work sort of dries up. I don't know what happens. And
that snow you guys get in California.
I don't want to touch the camera. You know what I mean? And I need to go a few months without shooting to be motivated to shoot again.
Sure.
So like I need to force myself into.
It's good to have some time to reflect and time to think without actually doing the photography. I think like every time I take a hiatus, I come back a little different because I've still thought about it in the time I was away, and still like my preferences change, and I decide like, okay, I'm not going to do this kind of shot anymore. Like seen one too many of those, it doesn't even feel like me anymore. Or like I really do want to explore this thing. Like that can all happen without picking up the camera. I don't think you have to be doing it to become better at it, like 100%. At least all the time. But yeah, maybe it's COVID, you know, but I feel like it's been longer periods of the ebb, and I want to get back into the flow, you know.
Yeah. Do you want to bust out those Instagram questions and we can round robin them, Alex?
Yeah. I sent them in our chat. I sent screenshots of them if you guys see any.
Oh, great. To the email?
To the Instagram chat.
Oh, great.
Look and see if
Sorry, I have been enraptured by you here on the screen. Oh my God.
Got some from Howie.
Of course. All right, let's take Bobo hats first. How flexible are you when you go on a shoot, Alex? Do you have an idea in mind, or do you go in kind of open?
Oh, Bob. I'm on a workshop. I love this guy. Nice. I usually go out with at least an idea of a destination, if not an idea of a shot, but that's almost never what happens. Like I really can't plan my best shots. Like I can plan what I think I might find somewhere, and maybe I will, but I feel like the more predetermined the shot is, the less, I don't know, creative it is for me, because I'm just closing myself off to other opportunities by having something in mind. It's a little bit of a form of tunnel vision. So I try to stay open and just I have friends that are way better at this than I am. They have been practicing this for many more years, like just the wandering approach. Like my friend Sarah Marino, she just will like show up at a place and wander around, and her husband Ron too, and they'll come back with 20 images from a day. Like they might not all be portfolio shots, but like 20 different ideas, you know, and like
that's wild. Yeah.
I don't have that kind of you say that I'm prolific for putting out like 40 images in a year or 30, but like,
yeah,
I mean,
well, they're all bangers.
It varies greatly.
Also,
but
you know,
yeah,
I would
stay open.
I would just to contrast to what you said there though, like I don't know her work, and I'm sure it's excellent, but you know, the way I've seen you work is very methodically though. Like when you do get onto that idea, like you flush that idea out well. So I feel like that, just from what I know about you, you know, that seems a little bit more scrambly when it comes to, you know, running around with the camera.
I'm not,
and in certain places that can work, right? But
I'm not saying that she runs around or that I wish that I was running around just like firing from the hip, but I try to follow that model is my point, and not like go with a specific shot in mind, because I'm just closing myself off mentally to other opportunities. And if I go through my favorites gallery and look at like my favorite 30 shots of the last decade, like almost none of them I would have known they were there. They're just things that I happened to see at some point, and then like, okay, I guess I'm making one of my favorite shots ever today. Like I didn't think I would be.
Sure.
That's not what I came out here for, but that's shaping up to be that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, like
just putting yourself out there is half of it, right?
Yeah, and another thing about the inspiration ebbing and flowing, like I'm definitely missing opportunities when I'm not out there. So like you do have to be out there, but at the same time you don't have to be like clicking the shutter to get better at it. So
yeah, I like some of these comments are inappropriate.
Yeah,
some of these questions are inappropriate.
One I thought was really what was it? I am beautiful woman. Do you want to fall in love with me?
Yeah, that's the
I
one.
See
that one?
I am an Iranian beautiful girl.
Sorry.
Unavailable. One word answer. All right, I have one that we can all answer in like a little round robin here. So Mike, why don't you start, and then I'll go, and then Alex, you will wrap it up. Tiny little sentences. What excites you right now in photography? So this is from Matt Lancaster.
Anything that I haven't seen, anything fresh.
Okay. Mike?
Is that how
what
short
excites me right now?
Yes, in photography.
Yeah, I want to get into product photography.
Whoa.
I love the idea. Yeah.
Okay.
It feels very architectural to me. It's the same sort of thing, and it's like a puzzle to be solved. But I want to approach it in a new sort of way, and I haven't quite found that yet. Like what I could do, and then I go down the rabbit hole of like, oh, but then you need to make a body of work, and then it's 20 photos, and that could take a year to put together, and I'm like, forget it, I'm out. So I'll just keep shooting house.
I like it. What excites me right now is March Light and the return of Northlight. Northlight's back in 12 days, and in the grid of Chicago, that means a quarter of the buildings haven't seen the light in 6 months. So I'm excited to get that raking light back. And March Light is just my favorite light of the year. It's like low slung.
Yeah, but you got to get up
long.
at like 5 a.m, and nothing good happens before noon. We all know that. So
I have a kid. I'm up all the time, 100% of the time. I don't sleep anymore, so it doesn't matter anymore. The clock is just a circle. It doesn't matter. All right. What else should we do here?
We did get a good one from Jordan Powers. He says, what does your scouting process look like? Google Earth, reference photos, recommendations, or are you using any apps, that kind of thing?
Jamal Pal. Alex, I mean.
Yeah, there was another similar question like that from Mr. Chuck.
Mr. Chuck.
When I was doing drone photography, it was all Google Earth, because you can just see exactly, at least with the kind of shots I was doing, what it's going to look like.
Does that mean you've stopped doing drone photography, Alex?
What's that?
Does that mean you've stopped doing drone photography?
Yeah, I had it for like a year, and like I had a drone from 2016 to 17, and what?
Just continue. It's amazing. You're incredible.
I just did not like the process. It's really frantic. Like the batteries last 20 minutes, you fly out to your composition, and like you have like 2 minutes to shoot, and then you got to start flying back, or it's going to land out in the desert and then you're gonna have to hike over.
I hate
Which I know
flying
happens
drones,
here.
man.
It's happened to me before. Like it'll start coming down. Like I had one time where the drone started landing because it was low on battery. I was trying to refine a composition. I probably already had the shot, but I'm like, let me just see if I can make this a little better. And I spent another 5 minutes on the comp, and then all of a sudden it's just like emergency landing, and like it's like I know it's supposed to be an eyesight of you, but like as far as FAA rule, like, nobody can see their drone after it's like 100 feet away. It just becomes a speck in the sky. Anyway, I couldn't see this drone. It was like a mile away, 2 miles, just over like rugged desert, like canyons that I'd have to pass over somehow. So it starts landing, but it still allows you to control it laterally when it's coming down. So I had to like point up the camera away from the ground and be like, okay, where am I? Where am I? And like, I didn't even know where I was. I was just so lost in the composition. Like, oh, I think the car's that way. So I just start flying that way. But the whole time it's coming down, I'm just trying to like clear these canyons before it lands so that I can at least get to it and I don't lose $2,000 out in the desert and also litter while I'm at it. And I did get to it, but it was like half a mile down the road. Like I had lost my bearings when I was up there and didn't really come straight back. Yeah, so that's not really like the kind of process that I want to be engaged in for nature photography, which I think is really like contemplative and slow and quiet. And like the drone photography was like just a whole lot of planning and then a whole lot of stress.
Alex,
Plus they make noise and annoy people.
Yeah, you're a good person, Alex. The reason I was laughing is because you have like a world-class drone portfolio from your 1 year that you had a drone, and then because you didn't like it, you're like, fuck this thing, I'm out of here. No more drone photos. They're good, yeah, they're great, yeah, but I don't like it.
It feels like easy mode, man. Like as far as nature photography, I feel like one uniting thing that anyone can agree on in my community is like, that's a fresh take because everyone's going to the same spots, right? Like sure. Everyone knows the same areas. Even if you find a new shot, like you can probably guess where it was from because there are just some really photogenic areas with a lot of opportunity. Mm-hmm. And so with the drone stuff, it's like you fly that up and you've got 10 new shots that day that no one's ever seen before. Like it's easy. So like I mean, it's not that because the composition still has to be good, but like it's also like you can just pre-shoot by finding it on Google Earth and then like going and shooting it, like just going and executing it, showing up basically, at least for the top-down shots. So yeah, I didn't really like the process.
That's amazing, Alex.
It didn't have that feeling of discovery.
That's a perfect place to end because that summarizes you because there's no compromise. Is there anything else you want to talk about? We're a minute over. It doesn't matter. We can go longer, but we can wrap it up here if we want.
Tom, do you fly drones at all or no?
I do. Yeah. I try not to.
It's also exhilarating to see things from the air. It's like, holy shit, that's what this looks like from above. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
I use my drone as a 20 to 50 foot tall tripod a lot of the times. Like I don't like fly it up and like shoot a bunch of stuff from 400 feet high. I usually like I'm right in the trees or something like that where I just can't get to with my camera. But I try not to fly it like only when I really think I need to. I probably fly it twice a month or once a month maybe. Yeah. Alex,
it's a really good scouting tool too.
Oh yeah, and it's certainly a good tool, and you can do great things with it. Go ahead.
Can I share my screen for a second?
Mike?
Yeah, you should be able to.
This is going to be embarrassing for me.
You guys see any more questions in there while I'm allowing access here?
Sure. Aaron wants to know if you've had any rattlesnake encounters, Alex.
No, but I've had bear encounters and
oh god,
encounters with cholla cacti getting stuck in my skin. There are a lot of hazards, but no snakes so far for me.
Mike and I just get hit by cars every day when we're trying to cross the street by the building. Alex, do you get more excited? Stephen Karslish asks if you get more excited about an image as you're seeing it in real time or after you're working on it in post-production?
Oh, sometimes in real time. I mean, like if I know it's a solid composition and the light's happening and everything's coming together, like sometimes you just know, and I'm like usually swearing loudly. Like this is the shit. This is fucking great. But like, sometimes things that I was stoked about in the field on a 3-inch screen don't look so good when you see them on the monitor. And sometimes there are gems that I didn't think anything of when I shot them in the field, and they just took a little massaging in post to bring out whatever it was that was special about it. And then all of a sudden it becomes a favorite. So that can happen at any point, the getting excited about it.
Yeah. Yeah. The 3-inch screen I couldn't do.
Sometimes you have
addicted to tethering.
Oh. Yeah, that'd be nice. I guess I could bring my laptop with me.
Yeah.
It's only another 4 pounds.
Did you want to screen share or no?
I think I have to quit and restart Zoom.
Is it something I can pull up or no?
Oh, no, actually. No. Maybe it could work.
There we go.
You see this? Why don't you do one of these?
Oh my God.
Have you seen these?
You know,
look at these,
honestly,
look at these tethers here.
Alex, do you want to tell the backstory of this thing?
Yeah,
this
I almost owned one of these. It was one of the prizes for the Epson Pano Awards. I guess it's something for pano photographers. Like you can like use the cables to like turn the camera.
Well, I bet it stays real still up there.
Pole. That's a 30-foot pole, and you can see in the product photo that it's leaning. Just put it up against the edge. You can see how many degrees off is that, Tom? You're an expert at that. I mean, this is their official product photo for this 30-foot pole of a tripod. So I don't know why you have a drone when you could just use this. I mean, it only requires like 3 guy lines I can see. So just set it up and you're good to go.
Yeah.
Sometimes
I put my phone on burst and I just throw it up in the air. That works too. I've literally done that.
Wait, how do I exit? Oh wait,
I've done the same thing.
I think we're on Mike's.
This is me with a 30-foot tripod doing the same exact thing. So
except for Mike, we see like the Google Analytics of the stream settings right now.
Say again. Oh,
we don't see the tripod. We see the analytics. What's
Hold
up,
on.
41 concurrent viewers?
How about that? You see it there?
There we go. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's just a stand that
you have one?
No, that's a stand.
Yeah, that's just the Manfrotto super tall stand to get over bushes.
Have you seen Mike's
I understand
GeoCities website?
The situation. There are situations. I mean, I know why Tom has the tall tripod. I know why you would use that for architecture. I thought it was really funny that they showed it like in front of a waterfall in Iceland, like wide open. Like we just want the photo to be less connected from the sense of place.
I love it. I love that. Well, good deal. Alex, it's been an honor and a privilege, my friend.
Yeah, fascinating stuff.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I feel like we just scratched the surface. I feel like I could talk for 3 hours.
Well,
I feel bad if I missed questions.
Well, do you want to, is there more? You can.
There was one about how does a newbie landscape photog connect with initial clients and buyers? And I just want to say to that, in general, don't worry about that right now. If you're a newbie, just worry about like finding your niche, finding out make good photographs and find out what it is that you do differently or better than everyone else, because then you'll find your clients. Don't just try to find clients with whatever you happen to be doing before you've really found your stuff, or you're going to start going in a direction where you're only doing what clients want you to do and you won't grow personally. So I just think
that's good advice.
Alex. I mean, that's how I just know, because that's how I have gotten business. Is not by being a good businessman, but just by improving my craft, and then it comes
to you.
It shows up. Yeah.
Inception. Agreed. Oh, Corey Gaffer had a specific question about converting sRGB without changing the color. Very specific.
What is this about? That's like above my pay grade. This color.
If you're in Adobe or ProPhoto RGB and you convert to sRGB, I mean, I don't really see like huge color shifts when I do that. I think Photoshop does a good job of keeping the perceptual colors the same, but it will clip like highlights and like bright reds or greens.
Well, the color spaces are different, so it has to, right?
Like in landscapes, like red sunsets are the thing that you'll probably see. Like the clouds will get clipped, and they didn't look clipped in Photoshop. So I don't know, I don't really process for sRGB, but you can make like a separate copy of it, convert it to sRGB, and then follow that histogram. You might need to bring down like those extreme saturated reds or highlights. What would you do, Tom?
That, I mean, I also wouldn't worry about it probably because, you know, what's the point or two of red? Everyone's monitor is fucked anyways. I care a lot, but you know, I'm just saying like everyone's monitor is screwed up and half the people are looking at it on night shift mode on their iPhones. So like,
yeah, God, no, it's enabled along with True Tone. Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah, no, it's bad. I do care a lot about 1 point of red. Just to you're right, I do, but I don't know. Like I just accept. I produce everything in Adobe RGB 1998 anyways, so it's fine. But yeah,
anything
question from Corey.
Super anal about is prints. Like I'll tweak the color for a print, but it gives in a magazine, and they use that crappy like dot matrix printing, and you can see it's just like it's never.
Yeah.
You know, it sucks.
Yeah.
You had more access
Sometimes
to your Instagram. Questions, Alex. Did you have any more from your people?
I sent you all of them, but I
was that everybody? Then we answered.
Holland wants to know where babies come from.
Oh, that's Megan Holland. Hey, Megan. Yeah. That's funny. I haven't. Wow. That's. See, this is what happens when you go to middle school with somebody. People from the past.
It's a good photography question. And how do I make images like Alex Noriega, Jeff Freestone? Don't, man. Make images like Jeff Freestone.
Good advice.
Yeah.
You know, when I was in photo school, we had an assignment in photography 2, I think, called like In the Manner of. And you got like a slip of paper with a famous photographer, and you had to make a photo in the manner of that photographer. It was a very useful thing. I think we had to do it for 2 or 3 different people, you know?
I definitely downplay that severely. Like, yeah, finding out what you like about certain work is actually really valuable, and finding out how to imitate it, because then you can pick up the things that you actually like about it and incorporate it into your own style. Like, I don't think that any of us make our work in a vacuum and just come out the womb like some creative genius. You actually look at work from all different sources, you take inspiration from everywhere, and you pick and choose what little things you like most from all of it and form your own style.
Mike is doing In the Manner of 1989 right now. Look, he's got like this crazy up shadow. Look at this lighting. You just get a big fern in there with you, and you're back in 1988 again. Yeah, no, that's a good point, Alex. It's just, yeah, you should make your own work, but there's certainly value in chasing down other avenues just to learn something. I honestly think that like even tools like HDR, even tools like HDR, which are like, you should learn how they work, even if you make a bunch of really crappy saturated images, because like ultimately like you're going to take away some nuance from that you can apply to your work, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you learn what it is you like and don't like about something when you understand how it fully works. Like if you learn to make images like Alex Noriega, you learn everything it is that I like to do and don't like to do. You're probably not going to agree with every little thing. So maybe just take some things that you do like and then do the other things your way. And then you're on your way to making your own style instead of mine. So that's, yeah.
Jordan pointed out that we asked you the question and then went off on a drone tangent for like an hour. He's still curious about your scouting process.
I don't do a lot of specific scouting. I guess it's more like an area now. Like I just decide on an area to explore. So like I'll say I'm going to Capitol Reef National Park and we're going to park for a month. And then like sometimes Taylor will want to go on a hike somewhere and I'll just go with her and maybe I'll find something then, or I'll see something that looks really promising in terms of like, I do sometimes look on satellite. Like if I'm looking for like a canyon that might have cottonwoods growing in it or something along those lines. Like it's not a specific shot, but it's just like certain elements. Like I might look at satellite images, or like if you look on All Trails or Google image search, like for a certain trail or a certain area, you can get an idea just from tourist pictures, like snapshots, what's there. I'm not looking for like what's the composition there. I'm just looking for like, oh yeah, this is a cool canyon that looks like it has some cottonwoods growing in it. Like I'm gonna go hike that and see what I can find.
Sure.
Or like this looks like it might have nice views of those cliffs. So let's hike up there and see. Like I just like to get a general spark of something that seems interesting and then go explore.
So does any of this process sound familiar to you, Alex? Like when I show up at a building and we generate like an ambitious shot list, right? Like we're gonna make all these pictures. I'll then like say like, okay, that's a dusk shot over there. This shot needs to be made at 4 p.m. because the light's gonna come out that side of the tree. So when you're on a hike with Taylor or what have you, and you see a shot, are you ever like, oh man, that's a shot that I need to come back and make at sunrise, like that sort of thing?
Yeah,
it's not just opportunistic always, right?
It's not all, just like seeing what happens. I mean, definitely I can recognize that certain things will happen at certain times of day. I mean, there are photo planning apps for that landscape photographers use extensively. It's just that I'm usually thinking on such a smaller scale. I'm not shooting like grand landscapes. So I'm not, I mean, most of the time. So I'm not like, this is when the light is going to hit that mountain. Like, it's more like, I wonder when it comes through that crack in the canyon there and lights up this little bush, which is a lot harder to plan. But if you spend some time somewhere, you can start to make those educated guesses.
Yeah.
And like, I've found like compositions like out on the dunes, which are just like a field of endless shots.
Right.
And then I find one that I really like. I'm like, man, this would be really nice if there was some wind or like there's like just some light kissing the edges. So like something like that, I'll be like, okay, I'll come back another day. I'll mark this on my GPS and come back. But
that's like when I'm photographing a house, I hate the 1 day shoot with no scout because it's only at the second day when I deeply understand what I'm doing. And then I'm just like cranking. Okay, the light's going to be good here. Light's going to look right there at this time. And I know that this happens with this crazy lighting condition here.
We'll be back in 10 seconds.
The camera now. And so in a perfect world, I would love to be able to, spend multiple days at one house. Maybe I should just get to the point where they let me stay in the house for like a week and photograph it as I and that's kind of what you do, right? You know
there's something to be said for spending more time at a location, for sure. Like when you get to know what sort of opportunities present themselves at which times, especially when you're so dependent on weather. I know you are too, but like especially with landscapes, it's like, this shot requires fog. This shot requires light to be filtering in from this specific spot and fog. It's like you start to get like ideas of what might be a good shot, and then like the fog comes and you're like, oh shit, I better get over there. Like that's a shot waiting to happen. That's the one I've been waiting for over there. You definitely benefit from having knowledge at a location. It's not just like showing up and getting everything the first try, but
plus you have to factor in the time to set up your 40-foot tall tripod.
Got to lug it out there too.
Set up the guy wires,
assemble it, put down the guy wires. I mean, be there several hours early if you want to take your shot from 30 feet in the air. But it's harder to plan with the stuff that I shoot because it's so small scale, and like a lot of it is just so fleeting. Like, oh, this one tree was catching light this one day, and then it's cloudy for the next week, and I don't even know when it's going to happen again or if it'll happen anymore because the sun's a little further south now. After that week, like it's so, I don't know. That's why a lot of the time it's just the unplanned shots that end up being my favorites. It's just happen to be there at the right time, and maybe it doesn't even happen again. It's so ethereal. And
some of my best photos, man, I'm telling you, I just happened to be there and the scene unfolded in front of me.
But you put yourself in that situation in the first place, right? Like,
you put yourself, I mean, I was just
have to
about
put
to
in the
say
time.
that it's, you put in the time and you remain open to these opportunities. Don't get tunnel vision for one specific kind of shot or one specific composition. Although that can lead to you getting that shot eventually, you're also probably shutting yourself off to all sorts of other stuff that's happening. And I just don't come with that many expectations. So when people ask me about scouting, it's like, I guess I do some scouting, like to put myself in that situation. I do scouting like for this trail. I'm like, all right, looks like there's some interesting stuff there, but that's about the extent of it. I'm not like on photo pills planning out like, okay, the sun's at 118 degrees on this day, and then if I'm there at 5:30 p.m. I can get this exact shot. It's like just not how I operate. I
Sure.
just kind of like go there and see what happens. And
Yeah.
And yeah.
Okay. Last question is, what's next on your agenda, Alex?
We are going to Utah next month. Going to spend a few weeks in the Red Rock Desert and then on to Yosemite in May, which is a good time for churning waterfalls and just a lot of, like, it creates a lot of mist when they come down. I guess it's a pretty dynamic time. Flower blooms. I'm not that knowledgeable about Yosemite, actually. Like, I know it through all my friends and colleagues that shoot there. So I'm excited to go there for the late spring.
Thank you, Aaron, for the question. Aaron Ort. All right. Should we wrap it up there?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you, Alex, for the great hour and a half of information you provided to everyone. We got some great questions answered, and I saw some amazing work. So,
yeah.
All
right, kids. Alex, hang out for a minute.
Anytime you have.
Amazing.
Thank you, guys. Everybody have an awesome night, and we'll see you soon.
Happy Daylight Savings Time.